Hey everyone, and welcome to Ideanthro. Now to kick off this big adventure that is Ideanthro, we're going to be running a series about how we look after, we maintain, we manage our vegetated stormwater treatment assets like bioretention systems, like wetlands and that sort of thing. Now to get into this, and to make a little bit of sense of this, we need to set up a bit of context and we need to do some background work about what exactly are these bioretention systems that we're talking about. And that's what today's video is all about. So, I'm standing here in front of a lovely bioretention system and I'm going to tell you a little bit about what the key parts of it are, what we expect to see when we come out to a bioretention system, and a little bit of what it does. And that'll set the basis so that in future videos, when we're talking about maintenance and all sorts of stuff, getting into the nitty-gritty details, we've got the context of what we need to know. So, let's get into it. Look, bioretention systems are a form of stormwater treatment system. They take the water that flows off our roofs, off our roads, even off our garden beds and these sorts of areas, and they capture it and they treat it. So, to do that, we've got some key parts of a bioretention system that we need. Firstly, we need an inlet. Now, hidden in amongst these trees over here, there's a pipe coming into this bioretention system. It's collecting the water off the subdivision behind the camera there. The water then flows out into this low depressed area. So you can see I'm standing on some raised ground at the edge here, but then the ground sinks down and that's into the bioretention system proper there. So water can flow out of the pipe that we mentioned into this system and pond in this area when it's raining. Now obviously it hasn't rained for a few days now, so it's nice and dry right now, but if it were raining you'd see water ponding in there. Now other key things we can see is that there are plants growing in this system. Plants are really important to bioretention systems and we'll come back to exactly why in a minute. The other key things to know is obviously this raised ground that I'm standing on runs right around the outside of the bioretention basin. In this case, the middle section, the bioretention basin itself, is about 200 square meters. So it's a good size, it's not massive, it's not small, it's kind of in the middle. And then the other key feature that we will take a look at, we might be able to see it in the distance, is that there's a little raised grate and a little concrete pit over this side. It's a little bit far away. We might go and look at that at the end of the video. We'll see how we go. But there's a little raised outlet grate. So that's in a big storm when there's lots of water come into here. There's too much water for the system to hold. It can overflow down that grate. The one final part of the bioretention basin which you can't see is what's happening underground. So water flows into this system, it ponds on the surface, and then it filters down into the ground, into the filter media that's in here. It trickles through that filter media into some gravel at the base, and there are some pipes underneath the ground that collect that water once it's been treated, and they take it to the outlet pit and then to the creek or the wetland or whatever natural environment is downstream. And the treatment that occurs in the bioretention basin happens as that water filters down through the soil. So why don't we just wander in for a second and we'll have a look at that soil a little closer. So we'll bear with my lovely wife Tay as she tries to film me steadily and walk down into the system. If we're not filming steadily, you can we'll forgive you for that. Awesome. So what we have here, maybe come in a little further and we'll. Okay, cool. So we got that done. So what we have here is I've cleared away a little bit of the mulch that's on, or the leaf litter that's on the surface here to expose some of the filter media. So this is where the magic happens in a bioretention basin. The water filters down through this soil. It's a relatively sandy, loamy mix. You see, this is really also quite like a soil, so it's really good for the plants to grow in, which is why all these trees are so happy and why all these grasses and sedges are so happy. But the water filters down into this filter media and it gets treated in a number of different ways, but it'll remove pollutants like it'll remove dirt and sediment, it'll remove heavy metals, it'll remove hydrocarbons like oils and that sort of thing. It'll treat nitrogen and phosphorus, which are nutrients that cause problems like algal blooms when they get out into Moreton Bay and lakes and water bodies and that sort of thing. And so the treatment happens as the water filters through this filter media. But water treatment's not the only thing that a bioretention basin can do. There's just bring the camera up. There's a whole bunch of other stuff that they can do. water treatments, you know, in southeast Queensland, the main reason we put them in, but they do a bunch of other stuff. Firstly, you can see we've got all these trees in here. If you can imagine there's quite a few of these bioretention basins in this particular development, and they all add to the amount of green space in the area. So that's great for habitat for wildlife. That's great for cooling the environment because trees transpire and cool the air around them. It's great for amenity. There's little walking paths around these bioretention basins. They're doing heaps of good stuff here, and because they were designed in a nice way, they fit in with the environment, they're a really nice feature. Cool. Okay, so that's a quick little introduction to bioretention basins. Some of the features that they have, the key points like the inlet, like the filter media here, the plants, the outlet, like so, and some of the functions like the stormwater treatment, the amenity, the cooling, the habitat for wildlife, and the like. But before we go, I'll touch off on one more thing, and that's the plants and what they do, because the plants provide a really important role within a bioretention basin. So you can see we've got a mix of plants in here. So we've got some of these lower growing grassy type species, like these here. You can see lots of those throughout the system, but we've also got some trees. Now I happen to know from the history of this basin that when it was first planted, it only had those lower growing grassy species. But over time, some seeds have come in and these casuarina trees have shot up, and that's fine. They do a really good job. But the plants are important for a couple of reasons. Number one, the plants help that treatment to take place. So some of the pollutants that we talked about, for example, the nitrogen in particular, let's go with, needs the plants in there in order for that treatment to take place. As the water filters down through the media, it runs past the roots of the plants, and lots of microorganisms live on those roots, and they use that nitrogen. They process it, they convert it into different forms, they incorporate it into their cells, and they remove it from the stormwater. Without the plants in there, that treatment doesn't take place. So that's one reason they're really important. The second reason the plants are really important is that they help to keep this media, this filter media down here, draining freely over time. So when it's first put in, it's a sandy, loamy mix. It drains really freely. But if you don't have the plants in there over time, as more and more dirt and sediment comes in, it can start to clog up. The plants perform this really vital role in that because they're always growing, they're always putting their roots down into the system, breaking up that media, they can help it draining freely. So they keep the system draining over time, which is how this system, which is about like, it's getting on towards 10 years old now, is still draining. And the last thing, of course, is they help to keep the system looking good and provide that habitat that we talked about earlier. Okay, sweet. That's about it for now. Thank you for tuning in to this video at Ideanthro. If you want to know more, you can do a few things. You can go to our website, www.ideanthro.com. There's heaps of videos there. There's also some projects we're working on and a bunch of other stuff. You can find out lots about us there. We have a Facebook page where you can check us out. And again, you can find a link to that from the website. You can like us, or you can find us on YouTube as well. Look, that's it for now. I hope you enjoyed, and until next time, we'll see you later.